Light it.
Welcome back to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. We are joined now by the quarterback of the second-ranked Oregon Ducks, Dillon Gabriel. Dillon, A, thanks for joining us. B, I want to read you a text. This is the stuff I have to put up with, Dillon. Urban Meyer, 7:22 a.m. Sunday. Watched Oregon offense versus Ohio State. We need to get Dillon Gabriel on, period. Wow, period. Go get him, Coach. We got him on for you.
All right, Dillon, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
Hey, one of the great moments in a coach's life is when you see a player that's committed and has his moment. And I know you've been around like 20 years in college football, but you've had plenty of moments. But I'm telling you, brother, that was a moment. Congratulations. How did you keep with all those? How many game change? How many different lead changes?
7 lead changes.
7 lead changes, and you just kept going and going. Just tell us about the huddle. Tell us about the sideline and how you led that team.
Yeah, just a bunch of faith and trust in one another. You know, I think a lot of these guys, not only myself, but have just played a bunch of ball and been in a bunch of situations that either went their way or didn't, and understand that it's a couple plays that'll be the difference. But also just kept swinging. You know, certain things didn't go our way, and whether it's in the red area on a 4th down conversion or, you know, having to settle for field goals, you know, twice. It's things that we realize that, you know, that could have been the difference, and we may never know, which is a great thing. But coming together all together as one, you know, as a unit on offense, and making plays when it needs to be had.
Yeah, man. We know you came from Oklahoma, man. You played in the River Rivalry. What was the atmosphere like, man? Saturday night when you was going against the Buckeyes, I know it was turned up in there, man.
It was amazing. I think college football fans get excited for it. Players, coaches, everyone involved. But that's moments you dream of, and you know the atmospheres. You know, there's nothing better than that. So anytime you have those opportunities, you got to seize it and take advantage of it, because everyone's watching. It's prime time.
Yeah.
Dillon, those last couple Ohio State drives, when you're on the bench, they had a lot of cutaways of you, and you had the big headset on, and a lot of times your head was down and you're looking around. You were clearly engaged. I'm curious, who or what were you listening to during those last couple drives?
Yeah, I was on the headset, not with the defensive staff, but with the O staff.
Okay.
And, you know, they were kind of narrating for me. You know, I was in my prayer warrior type of vibe with the boys. But, yeah, I just was listening to, you know, the play-by-play through that drive, and ended up ripping it off and celebrating.
Have you been in that position that Will Howard was in with that 6 seconds left and having that clock ticking in your head and knowing I got to get down, I got to get out of bounds? I guess you certainly know what he's going through right now and what he went through in the moment.
For sure. You know, and that's the tough part about these crucial situations in situational football, you know, and a lot of times, you know, if you're on the right side of it, nobody's talking about it, but, you know, it's tough in those certain situations. You have to execute and be very deliberate on your decision making. And, you know, it's something that we talk about a bunch here. You know, whether it's on Fridays, watching other situations of other teams, or, you know, us putting ourselves in those situations in walkthroughs, in practice. It's things you really can't practice enough. And, you know, luckily I've been in a lot of those situations, but I've been on the good side of it and the bad. So you just try to learn from them and get better from them.
You know, Dillon, I respect your staff a lot. That's why I came out there and spent time and just talk briefly about this. So game planning, your coaches get together on Sunday after, you know, they let you go Monday, and then Tuesday is the day one install, or the install, first down normal and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When they made the decision to take the vertical shot, because in Big Noon, I thought you were going to run more of the crossing routes to get guys open.
Yep.
You went over the top. And I didn't know, I mean, those are some high draft pick corners. So you and the receivers, when you saw that game plan unfold, I'm talking about Tuesday.
Yep.
Were you like, holy cow, we're going to go over the top against these guys? I mean, that had to be a shocking moment or a great moment, or tell me about that.
Yeah, we had a little bit of both, to be quite honest, of the crossers and even vertically. Just confidence in our guys. And, you know, we've also watched back a bunch of, you know, a lot of guys just not really taking them vertical. And rightfully so. These are corners, like you said, that are extremely talented and have been really good at keeping everything in front and limiting explosive plays. But we also knew we needed to have explosive plays to win. So it was a combination of that and really just the confidence in one another. But I think Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, and then even T. Ferg, just competitive plays down the field that could have went both ways, and that's what you have to do in those big time moments is make plays and explosive ones to, eliminate long play drives that, like I said, if it gets long, then it's strenuous and more plays that you may not execute on.
Man, you throw for 341. I know you mentioned your receivers. Is there a moment in the game where they come to the sideline, you go to the sideline, you like, "Man, they can't mess with us, man. We going up top on them." Like, is there a moment in the game where y'all just got the playmaker just flashing and you like, "Oh, it's time." Like,
I
we in
think
our bag.
initially, what is a second or third drive when I hit Evan in the seam on like a switch vertical concept. I felt like then, we knew we'd have our opportunities and just seizing those opportunities were important. But definitely the one to Tez, and maybe the Evan was setting the tone there, but just the one to Tez, knowing that the confidence is there for us both.
And then we talk about, we talk about you with your arm, but you was devastating with your legs, had the 27-yard TD run, put y'all up. What you was feeling right there, man, where you had to get loose with the legs and showing them boys that you real versatile with it.
Yeah, on third down, I'm like, "Hey, I'm trying to go get it right here," and regardless. But, as it opened up and, we finally got, in the end zone and split one open, dude, it was probably the loudest I've ever heard Autzen in my
Okay.
experience. So hopefully we continue to make it loud that way.
Coach Lanning's a pretty passionate dude. He had some great words prior to the Colorado game last year. What was the energy like? What was the messaging in the locker room after that big win Saturday?
Yeah, just rooted in the process, and everything we've done to get up to this point. Obviously we've done some things right to be 5-0 headed into that game, but also, just as a unit, we've also been through some things and adversity early in season, which taught us a bunch about, ourselves and our identity. But also when we get into this game, that's a big game, that's gonna be a dogfight, a heavyweight pound for pound. Like we've been in this moment, so just season that and keep swinging.
So the most improved moment or most improved part of your team is obviously that O-line.
Yeah.
Caught a little heat early in the year, giving up a few sacks. 0 sacks against Ohio State. I know you helped them out a little bit, but I'll tell you what, your
0 in
offensive
the
line,
last
man,
4
they
games,
played.
coach.
So
Think about that. Again, 0 last 4 games, but you're talking about some NFL talent.
so
What's the biggest change that you've seen in the offensive line the last few games?
I'd say early on, I didn't help them at all as well, on my end of being able to get the ball out and extend plays. So I think it was a combination there. But two, I just think the mentality, and we had a certain amount of rushing yards. Remember that week of practice? I mean, those guys were getting drilled a little bit. Um, and on the coaches' shirts, we'd have like 2.9 yards per carry, and kind of just setting the tone that way. But the mentality changed, and that's as a unit. We all took pride in it. Whether it's the guys up front, creating some room for the running backs to work, the running backs getting downhill, and then guys on the perimeter. So we all took pride in it together. But it starts up front with them, and you just have seen that mentality switch since the early couple weeks.
Have you thought about the magnitude of that victory that you had? So you go, obviously Ohio State comes, guys, great win in Austin, but also your performance, a huge performance, has you square in the heart of the Heisman Trophy conversation. You guys are leading. You guys got control of the Big Ten, control of your playoff destiny, and you in the square root of the Heisman conversation. Man, have you thought about the magnitude of that victory you've had?
I try not to be quite honest. I've been in this situation before last year,
Yeah.
and you just continue to try and stay focused, and I've continued to emphasize with the guys, and coach has done a great job of it too, is just living week to week, and just being rooted in our process of preparing the right way and not taking anything for granted, and the beauty in the game we play is every week you gotta come to play, and you're only as good as your last outing. So I think as I've grown up in this, college career, my long college career of mine, um, you just realize that it's a 1 week focus and getting guys dialed in that. Um, the human nature is normal to find the easiest time to relax or when you can take off, but to be different, and do something different, there's got to be some changes to your natural habits. So that's what we've been focused on, and for me too. I'm a guy. I'll look back down the road, but I'm focused in the now and let it all take care of itself.
Hey, that
Dylan,
man knows something, Stoner. That
he
man knows
does.
something
He's
right
saying the
there,
right
man.
words, man. You talk about your path here, and it has been a unique one. Um, of your 4 stops, and I'm going to include Hawaii, your hometown, your home state, as stop number 1, to UCF, to Oklahoma, to Oregon. Tell me something you took out of each one of those stops that has brought you to the point you're at right now. So you can start in Hawaii.
Yeah, in Hawaii, I think I found my love for the game. With my dad being my coach, and kind of just the experience I had at a young age growing up. Um, it was special. I had coaches that pushed me to be the best version of myself, and on a little island like Oahu in Hawaii, you're just a very simple life, and you find that love of the game and want to continue to get better everywhere you can. When I went to UCF, I think that was my first moment of really, welcoming to the show of what football is really about. I learned a lot about the game, and I think I called every two high show cover two when I first got there. So I learned a lot in that sense, and kind of was thrown into the fire. But I call those my youngin' days because there was a lot of just doing and not a lot of knowledge behind it. But when I did make that transition to Oklahoma, I felt like the new and improved kind of grown up version of myself. I was forced to grow up after a 6 and 7 year that was up and down, and a bunch of games that were, you know, one score games that could have went our way or not, but they didn't. And you learn a lot about the difference, and the difference between winning and losing is very slim. So you're grateful for the wins, and you realize that there's so much more to get better at. So that off season going into my second year, I really took it serious, changed my body, changed the way I led, being vocal, and not just being a guy who's a lead by example. I don't believe in that anymore. Lead by example is just a good teammate, somebody who just kind of does the right thing.
Yeah.
A leader's one who changes the temperature in the room, and when you walk in, everyone knows you're there. So made that change and kind of grew up there, and then coming here, I feel like Oregon's getting the best version of me, in my playing style, who I am as a person, and more importantly, just what I bring to the table for this environment. And that's just me being me. And I think that's important as well. An authentic version of a quarterback that's not presidential or better than. I'm one of the boys, and I'm also one that'll get everyone fired up and riled up. So, I think through that long journey of football, I've played a bunch. I've started my freshman year in high school all the way up until my senior year. Got thrown into the fire at UCF freshman year, and been playing ever since. So I think all that experience, you're kind of forced to change and grow up. But I've been the young guy, I've been the rookie, I've been the vet, I've been everything in between. So
Hey, Dillon, my last question is this. And the Hall of Famer Lou Holtz, Coach Lou Holtz, who used to always call me after a big win, and he says, climbing a mountain takes passion and energy. When you're at top of the mountain, there's nothing but fatigue because everybody's shooting at you. How are you going to keep the boys' feet on the ground, man? Because, you're getting, interviews, and I can only imagine Sports Illustrated is going to roll out there. You got to earn those stripes now, keeping everybody's feet on the ground. How are you going to do that?
yeah, I've been through it once, and no, it didn't necessarily get handled the right way. So I know what it doesn't look like, and I think, getting the guys going of, staying rooted in the process, like we always talk about, you got to prepare a certain way, and it can't change week to week of who the opponent is. It's got to be something within your, building and your culture. But I just love how the veteran guys on this group have continued to push the team, and whenever we have team meetings with just the guys, I think we're all speaking the same language, and that's important, in everything we do. So, like I said, I'm gonna stay present. We got Purdue this week. and that's what we're focused on and dominating that moment.
What does Dillon Gabriel like to do in his off time? You play the video game. What you like to do, man, when you kicking it, man?
I'm not a video game guy. I don't want to sound like this guy, but I do love watching film. But I love enjoying my time with that. So whether I'm grabbing a guy with me, or if the cues are in the room, or coaches. So I always love doing that. But
Just a football junkie.
I am. But in my off time, I love taking walks, spending time with my fiance, and I love food. So we'll eat some dinner together, go get some food on whatever off days we do get.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, like I said, I like trying new things. So anything I haven't done, let's try it. And as long as it's safe and within guidelines.
Wait a second. Did you say you're engaged?
I am
Yeah.
engaged.
Oh man. How long have you been engaged?
2 months.
2 months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's
Thank
just
you.
big news. Have you set a date?
We haven't. That's the funny part. I kind of just knew that I wanted to be engaged to my fiance Zoe, but even saying fiance is we've been joking about it. It's like kind of weird, It's usually
It's a
girlfriend.
tough word to say it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not one in
it is.
your normal vocabulary.
It's just 2 months, so.
Let her pick the flowers.
Yeah.
Let her pick the colors. Let her pick the veg. Just make her happy.
All
Get
right,
there.
all right, Stone, stop.
Be
Stop.
there as much as you can.
You're
but take
talking
care
to
of the
Dillon
honeymoon.
Gabriel.
Take
He
care of
just
the
beat Ohio
honeymoon.
State, man. Let it go. Let it go,
Man, he
Stoner.
needs this advice. All right, so Dillon, we let everybody that we interview have an opportunity to ask us a question after we just bombarded you for like 17 minutes. So feel free to fire off a question to any one of us right now.
I guess I'll ask all three. On any great team you've been a part of. And I know Coach Meyer probably answered one of these when he was here, but we always talk about the difference. What I guess every great team you've been a part of, what do you feel like the difference was? And not talent or people that did a really good job at whatever field they're in, but what was the difference you thought? Whether it's the people, the process and how you did things, were you guys efficient? I know people may say hardest workers, but I'm always looking to see how everyone's been at their best and why they're at their best.
I'll kind of start with that and then hand it off to Mark. But I visited with your team, and we won 3 national titles, and I'm not sure they were the most talented teams. The difference, the number one thing they had is competitive. They were competitive maniacs, but they were also the most selfless team. Because football is a nasty, violent, tough man game. And the fans a lot of times don't see the nasty of the game. The 3 technique, the guy running down on kickoff, the tailback stepping in the A-gap, hitting a 240-pound linebacker running through right under the chin. If your team's selfless, you got a great shot. If not, you'll lose a game.
Yeah, 100%. I think the selflessness of it, just knowing, like, not caring who gets the credit, not caring who gets to shine. All they caring is being on one accord, accomplishing what the main objective is. And like you said, it's human nature after you have a big win to, we could be comfortable. It's human nature after a big win just to be complacent. But like you said it, and you have the right mindset. It's all about what you have done for me lately. And if you have that victory like you have versus the Bucks, then you go and you lay an egg, then none of that matters. So it's just never being complacent, always pushing yourself to achieve greatness. And that's basically, it's like no secret recipe, man. You spoke all the right things. You spoke all the good things. And if you have that mindset and carry it and it resonates and it just trickles throughout the whole DNA of your team, you guys are special, man. So
I don't
you
think
got it
there's any
going on.
worries over here that it's going to continue, Dillon. I think
Yeah.
you are more than in the right direction. And hey, we know how busy this week is. We know you got Purdue coming up this weekend. Congratulations again on last weekend. And thanks again for joining the Triple Option presented by Wendy's, man. Enjoy the rest of the season.
Appreciate you, Dillon.
Thanks, Dillon.
Thanks, Dylan.
Yes.
Light it.